सभी को सभी चीज़ नहीं मिलती, किस्मत से ज़्यादा और समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं मिलता. तो माइंड इज़ अ वेरी गुड सर्वेंट बट अ वेरी बैड मास्टर. So if you can control your mind and be resilient about it, be learning about your own human body, and this human body is it's like a gift from the God. So one operation can change your perspective completely.
Today, we are navigating the compass of a true warrior. Former commanding officer of 21 Para Special Forces, a man who transformed recovery into a 1,000-kilometer tribute to our soldiers. From the battlefield of Sri Lanka to the heights of Kilimanjaro. He is a man who believes that the finish line is just the start of the next mission. We are talking about combat leadership, the 1% improvement rule, and why action always beats intention. So, folks, fasten your seatbelts for a masterclass in resilience, legacy, and national pride. Joining us today on the Commander's Compass is the legendary Colonel Mandeep Singh Mann, retired, a battle-hardened legendary para-commando and ex-commanding officer of the elite 21 Para-Special Forces. Welcome, Colonel Mann, and it's great to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Girish, for inviting me over here and giving me this opportunity to share my experiences
My
on your
pleasure.
platform. Yeah.
So my first question to you is your journey from the National Defense Academy to being a Special Forces officer, and how does it mentally, and your journey in fact to take on the toughest battles as an SF officer? All yours.
Thanks, Girish. Firstly, NDA, we were together. You were in Echo Squadron, I was in the Golf Squadron.
Alpha.
Alpha Squadron. And I was reasonably okay athlete in NDA. In fact, one of my, the squadron mates, I don't know whether you remember, he's no more, Kipgin. He's the one who saw the potential in me of being an athlete.
Okay.
And that is how I joined athletics, and I won a couple of medals. And sometimes, your own hidden talent is not known to you, but somebody else can see that. That was the first start point. I can say that somebody saw that potential in me and kind of put me in the athletics. Thereafter, I passed out from NDA, went to IMA. In IMA also, I tried to participate in a parachute regiment medal.
Okay.
So I felt that that is something which I was very, I would say, like to be a paratrooper.
Okay.
And so I participated in that, but of course I wasn't that fit. So I didn't win that medal. And as a choice of arms would be, I had given my choice of arms as parachute regiment,
Okay.
but I did not get that.
All right.
I joined Mahar regiment,
Okay.
18 Mahar to be specific. And that's how my journey in the army started. But while I was in the army, in the Mahar regiment, of course, since I was a good athlete, I participated in the athletic competition and I won some medals also there while in the unit. And there I got injured. I hurt my left knee in doing the triple jump.
Okay.
And thereafter I was hospitalized. I was sent to Lucknow for my treatment and all that. But that was some part of my, I was saying, okay, I wanted to join parachute regiment. I could not join that. Now the God has not been very kind and I got injured over there. But lucky for me, I had some relations in the army who knew what these knee issues are. And then they told me that you need to take precautions and you also need to strengthen your, the thigh muscles and your calf muscles and all that. And there is no need for any surgery, but you will be able to recover. It will take some time. So I took about 4-5 months. I recovered from that. Then went for commandos course to Belgaum. There I did very well. And I got my instructor's grading and all. And that is how I kind of got remotivated to join the parachute regiment.
Okay.
There I met, there was an officer from 10 Para. So he kind of said that if you want to join parachute regiment, why not give a volunteer certificate?
Okay.
So he asked me to kind of sign on a blank paper, which we never knew that it will really materialize into anything. But he said, you just sign it on the blank paper. And the special forces are like that. You have to really trust them. Yeah. So I trusted him and I signed on a blank piece of paper. And the moment I landed back to my unit, within a month or so, I got my posting to special forces.
Okay.
So I had no clue or what the special forces are all about. But when I was there in the unit in Mahars, they all told me that they are mad bunch of people, and they eat glasses,
Okay.
and they drink a lot. And then I said, even whatever they are, let me go and see myself, because I always believed in that. कि जब तक आप खुद नहीं देखोगे ना, once you see it with your own eyes, you cannot believe in whatever hearsay or whatever people tell you.
True.
So I told my CEO also, I said I want to go and see how the special forces are, and I probably will learn from them and bring back that knowledge
Okay.
to the unit.
Okay.
So that's how they allowed me to go for my probation.
Okay.
And that's how my journey in special forces started. And I would say it was when I reached and I started doing what they were doing, and I was definitely impressed by their level of their training, the level of their motivation, level of their physical fitness. In everything, they were much better than a normal infantry unit. And the other aspect was that they had a lot of freedom. They are basically command troops.
Correct.
So they have a lot of freedom. They don't get into routine affairs.
Right.
So most of the tasks which are being given to them were very special in nature. And that itself brings in a lot of glamour and a lot of I would say adventure.
Adrenaline.
And doing skydiving, doing scuba diving, which you probably have done. So all those things combined, that kind of attracted me towards, or rather gravitated me, that I should remain in special forces. And I never went back to the unit.
Great.
And
So you mentioned the word probation.
Yeah.
What does that exactly mean?
So probation is basically they want to kind of filter out those people who are not very sincere and those who are not fit enough.
And how tough is that training?
It's a 90 days training, and it is quite tough. And lucky for me that I had done my commandos in Belgaum. So I was well prepared for that. And the second thing was that I knew that physical aspects I would be able to, I would say, sail through easily, because physically I was very fit. In fact, in some of those speed marches, I used to be coming first, despite the fact that I had my knee injury, which I used to be wearing a support.
Right.
But still I used to come first. So they found that physically I am very fit. I had got my AXI gradings in my commandos. So that kind of helped in them selecting me. And lucky for me that I got through to that probation. I then stayed back in 10 para, and the kind of experiences and the kind of, I would say, knowledge which I got while I was in 10 para, because the unit was then deployed in Sri Lanka. And like all special forces, they are the most committed unit of the Indian Army. So wherever there is an operation, you will find a special forces unit going over there. So
Right.
that is another good thing about special forces, that they get so much of exposure. See, I always say, theory to you can learn.
Correct.
You can be sitting anywhere, you can learn about the theory. But the practical experience which you get while you are deployed in an operation is something which you cannot replicate.
Absolutely.
And they say, one look on the ground. So one operation can change your perspective completely. Means you may be a damn good, I would say, Camberley Staff College, AXIs in all the courses, deltas in everything. But the first operation will see how scared you are and how well you have, I would say, done that operation and come out in a flying color. So that way, I think that was a great learning for me. And I never look back after that. And I always keep saying that my mentor, or you can say who took my signature on that blank paper, that he was a man who actually got me there. He was there later on. He became a brigadier, Brigadier Sandhu, and one guy I always keep thanking him for having taken me for 10 para. So that is how my journey for special forces started, and I probably say I stayed there for a very long time. Till, of course, I commanded at 21 Special Forces.
Correct.
Which was another journey which we can talk about. Yeah.
So, Colonel, you joined the Special Forces, and then I think immediately after your joining, you must have been inducted into Op Pawan. And so, tell us what happened at Op Pawan. I mean, I know what happened. So, before I tell you had a grenade blast, right? And you had to witness that. And what goes through a person's mind after you're all gung-ho for a battle and you get into a grenade blast, and then just tell us that incident.
So, firstly, we were in fact, I was doing my pre-course for, BSW course in Nasirabad, and that time our unit got inducted. It was not really inducted into Sri Lanka, it was kind of taken to a place from where they would be launched.
Okay.
So you're not really very sure what's going to happen. So we all kind of got into one IL-76 and moved in over there. And then we were waiting, because in special forces also, or any operations, there's a lot of waiting involved before the actual operations.
Right.
So there are a lot of thinking going on that what is going to happen, whether the accord was signed in June 1987, and we were moved in soon after that. And we were not sure whether the Sri Lanka would honor that accord,
Correct.
and LTT, for that matter, will accept the terms and conditions which were there, in which they were not the signatory.
Right.
So they were asked to be disarmed, that they will
Right.
give away all their weapons, which somehow we also had not perceived it the way the government and everybody was thinking. So we were deployed kind of short of getting into Sri Lanka, and we were waiting for launch. And there are a lot of discussions going on whether we are going to be launched to capture Prabhakar or to capture the for the safety of the president of Sri Lanka, Mr. Jayawardene. So we were
Right.
not very sure. There was
Right.
total, I would say, confusion and chaos going on at that time. And when this thing has happened for almost a month or two, then they realized that things are not so hot. So I went for my BSW course.
Okay.
So I reached Mao, and I was doing the course for about a month or so. And that is the time when the hostilities in Sri Lanka started, and that peace accord got, I would say, broken.
Correct.
Because the LTT was found to be carrying weapons, and many of their cadres were caught by the Sri Lankan Navy, and those cadres, they refused to be taken to Colombo, and they took cyanide capsule.
Right.
And that is how the whole hostility started, and 10 para got embroiled in the operations, and we were ambushed. We lost 5 boys in the first operation. Their weapons were taken away. So it was quite demoralizing. I read it in the news only, in India Today and all that. And soon after that, then I realized that I have to get back to the unit. So I went to Delhi
Okay.
on leave, and I went to the MO, military operations headquarters, and they told me that, what are you doing here? I said, I want to go back to the unit. So they said, okay, return to unit.
Okay.
So they just signed it on that, and I took a flight from there to Lucknow. Lucknow, there was a unit being inducted,
Okay.
Kumaon unit. So I went in that same aircraft and landed at Palali. So that's how my induction took place before this whole incident of grenade blast and all that. So things were very, very, I would say, in a flux situation, moving very fast, and everybody, as in the special forces, want to be in operation. So
True.
we didn't want to be left out of it.
Yes.
So I reached over there. Now, when I reach over there, then already there's an operation which is going on. And there's a major, I would say, in this thing, Kilinochi or some other place I'm forgetting, where this Mahathya, that is the second in command of LTT, was supposed to have been cornered by one of our teams. And nobody was there at that point. So I was kind of manning the radio set, and I was told by the Colonel GS that we must pursue in that operation to get hold of this guy Mahathya. Right. But somehow things didn't happen, and we had to be evacuated from there, because a couple of people had got injured and all that. So that's a kind of a scenario which is happening the day I land over there. And so my, I would say, the operational journey, I would say, began from Sri Lanka, and I learnt a lot over there. The kind of the experience and the exposure which I got over there. So in one of the operations, which is in Vadamarachi, which is I would say, the place where Mr. Prabhakaran used to be coming from. That is the place where we were doing a mobile patrols. And while doing the mobile patrol, our vehicles are very, they have removed all the canopy and all that, and they are absolutely, you can say, barely they have any weight. True. So they move very quickly and very fast, and we can maneuver around in those small little lanes and all that of Sri Lanka. And I was sitting in the co-driver, and I saw 2 people crossing one of the lanes. Because there are so many multiple lanes and all that. So I saw 2 people crossing a lane and going across, and they were on cycle. Okay. So initially, we are taught some of the things, that how we need to kind of approach these things. So I shouted at them in Tamil. Engewa Tambi. I shouted at them. So the moment I shouted, so I heard them throwing the cycle and going, because cycle had already crossed. Right. But they threw the cycle and they ran. That's what I heard. So I moved ahead, jumped from the vehicle, and I moved ahead, and I was trying to see the guy who had thrown the cycle and gone, and I was trying to take a aim without realizing that the second guy has already jumped the fence
Okay.
and he's waiting for me there.
Okay.
So the moment I am taking a shot, so
Hmm.
that grenade came and landed in my feet
Okay.
and it just blasted me off.
Okay.
So for a moment I didn't realize what has happened. I was still trying to take a aim and trying to shoot him down. But
Okay.
then I said my legs are not moving. Somehow like they're fixed to the ground. You're totally stunned and kind of already there, and the boys are there behind me. And then I look down and then I see all the things are shattered.
Okay.
And there is blood, there is flesh, there is shoes have been totally torn. And that is the time when I realize that I've been hit.
Okay.
Because mentally you are so stunned that you don't have any pain.
Right.
It is only when you look at yourself that you realize that you are hurt. So then I said, I am hurt. The moment I said I am hurt, so obviously the boys could hear me and they came and they pulled me out from there. And now the question is whether you need to pursue that guy
Okay.
and this guy, or whether you need to evacuate. So we are a very small team, about 8 to 10 people. So there is hardly any time and I would say capability for us to do both. So they decided that they gave me a morphine, they put me in a vehicle, and that's the kind of drills which we have. So they immediately put me on saline and they put me in another vehicle and got me evacuated, while the other team which was also operating nearby, they came in to kind of further pursue those operations to nab those guys. That is how I got injured, and I would say maybe a little bit more over enthusiastic that I was wanting to reach there, the point from where I could take a shot. But it's very situations are so dynamic over there.
True.
It's very difficult. The previous day only there was another incident
Okay.
in the same area, general area, where one of the officers from Gurkhas, he had a grenade blast injury again. And while he was being operated, so the doctor was trying to look at his splinters all over the legs. So one of the splinter was there in his main femur artery.
Okay.
So while he was being operated, that splinter came off, and the entire femur artery started gushing with blood. So then they had no other option. They had to amputate his leg. So when I was going into my surgery, so I had this incident in my mind. So
Right.
I firstly told the doctor that, look, my blood group is O negative, which is very rare.
Okay, that's rare blood.
And second is that please check all my splinters before you open any. And because he had one splinter in his stomach, because of which it was bloated up. And so I said, just check about my femur arteries and all that. Because when a splinter goes in, sometimes it remains embedded,
Okay.
and the flow continues in your arteries.
So you are conscious completely?
I was not conscious only when the time when they were taking me for operation.
Okay.
That is the time, because otherwise I was going into conscious, subconscious, because that morphine, it kind of
Dulls
gives
you.
you have a very high fever, but you don't have any pain because of the morphine. But you are kind of thinking about your entire life comes in front of you.
True.
And you are seeing your mother, you are seeing your childhood, whatever you were dreaming and all those. It's like a dream. And then you are looking at yourself, that who is this guy who's got all his legs flat. Right. You're not looking at yourself as your own. You're looking at as a second person, trying to look at your own life. So it's like conscious, subconscious. Sometimes you're conscious, sometimes you're subconscious. So because of the blood circulation or because of the morphine, that you don't feel the pain, but you have very high fever. The moment you get those splinters, because of that, I would say the chemical which is there, so you have very, very high fever. The body tries to kind of fight it out that way. So that is how it is. And obviously it took me, when they did the surgery, so there were hundreds of splinters, so many they could not take it out. And while they used to take it out, it used to be very painful, and they had to make a bigger,
Gash,
hole to
a
remove
wound.
those splinters. So I went for 7-8 surgeries, went
Okay.
to different hospitals, initially in Palali in Sri Lanka, then in Chennai, then in Pune. So continued that. For at least 15 days, they were not feeding me anything. They were just giving me saline and things like that. And after 15 days, probably when I started looking at myself, then I realized my legs have become absolutely, because of the splinters and all that, they've become very thin also, because there was so much of muscle waste and things like that. And then they tried doing some surgery, removing something from here and trying to patch it up and all that. It was not really succeeding. Most of those surgeries, they felt that there's no skin, there is no
Right.
flesh, there is,
Uh.
so bones are, so they said let it be like that. So I also kind of told them that, it is better not to do anything
Okay.
than to do anything, because it's, I think, not really helping out in any way, because it's
Mm-hmm.
making bigger gashes here.
Right.
So after some time, they also realized that we need to let him be. So then I think change in perception, change in mindset, because my parents were not here. My
Okay.
parents were in Canada because my brother was getting married. So I
Right.
didn't tell them that much.
So
I
they didn't
said,
know that you had such a
they knew I am
bad wound.
injured. They
Okay.
knew I am injured, but they didn't know all the seriousness. So they said, okay, don't worry. I said, don't worry.
Mm.
I'll be all right, because there were some people who were in the army of my relations who were taking care. One of them was he was brigadier in the AMC only, and he
Mhm.
was posted in Pune. So he came and looked me up, and so because of that, probably the
Right.
entire hospital was looking at me as a VIP. So that way
Ah.
I was being well treated and looked after here in command hospital. And but then I saw the injuries of others. In fact, I remember General Nanavati. He used to be colonel at that time. He was our special forces commander in Sri
Okay.
Lanka, and he was one of those guys who used to look up all the casualties.
Mm-hmm.
So he came and met me in command hospital, and then we went and saw some other
Right.
casualties also, and that is where my mind changed. I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I am not that badly injured. I have got my legs. I
Right.
have got my legs. I am not crippled.
Mm.
And there are many others who do not have the legs. Somebody who
Mm-hmm.
has lost both his arms and legs. Somebody who can't talk, whose
Mm.
complete face is blasted off and all that. So that is where things started looking, I would say, better for me, in the sense that I am very fortunate,
Mm.
and whatever has happened. It is in past. Now I need to recover. And for recovery, mindset is very important.
Very
If your
true.
mind is clear that you need to recover, the body will recover.
True.
The physical aspects come later. So then I went back to the unit. Though
Mm-hmm.
I was injured and I was casualty, but I said I want to go back to the unit.
Okay.
Of course, the hospital was
So
very
you must have been a
adamant.
medical category
Yeah,
back
I was
now.
medical category, but I said I don't have any place to
And
go.
you could walk around
No, I was on the
on wheelchair.
wheelchairs and all
Okay.
that. But I said I want to go back to the unit because I have some work to do.
Right.
So they didn't know what it was, but I said I want to go back to the unit. I will not be doing any
Right.
operations.
Yeah.
So there I was as an adjutant. I
Mm.
sat there on the chair,
Right.
and my legs were up, and they were all kind of
Plastered and
not
various.
plastered. They bandaged. They
Right.
had to be regularly
Yeah.
bandaged. I said that rather than staying in a hospital,
Correct.
it's better to be there in the unit. At least be close to your own people. So that is how my recovery happened. And I can say that when I saw my other boys also operating, and some people who having lost their lives and things like that, so that really gives you a lot of motivation that yeah, you need to do something. And it's like a situation wherein all hands at deck.
Mm.
When unit is in operations,
Yes.
every day something or the other is happening.
True.
So
True.
they need somebody. So I was doing adjutant also, and recovering also. So that's how my journey was, as a grenade blast injury, and then recovering from there, and then getting motivated from my own colleagues and fellow special forces guys or commandos who are over there. So that's a great motivation when you see your own guys
Correct.
around, and they also are very appreciative of the fact that despite you being injured and your category, and you are coming and being with us
To the unit.
as adjutant. Yeah, they also really appreciate that. So that was how it was.
Great. So, guys, if this has moved you, despite a grenade blast, the guts, the resilience, and the recovery after that, and to get back on your feet and take on life with all its full, definitely we have lots of more things coming up. Plus, before that, please definitely like, share, and subscribe so that we can get you more such fantastic people on our shows from whom we can learn a lot.
I think army teaches you a lot of resilience, because of the fact that when you see your injuries are there are so many others who have got bigger injuries. And when you compare yourself, you're just a small little tiny speck in that. So that is what really takes you, that people have been doing much more than you. They have
True.
lost much,
Yeah, yeah.
much bigger, I would say,
Absolutely.
sacrifices they
Yeah.
have given. So that is because army is like a family. So when
True.
you look at that family, so you are just very small, this thing. So that is what really takes you or propels you. Probably in the civil world, you don't see that much,
Yeah.
because each unit or each organization is very small, whereas army is a very big organization, number wise, and their commitment wise, and the challenges which they face are far too many.
We are beyond comprehension of
Beyond
most people.
comprehension. Absolutely. That is what makes them keep doing it.
Yeah. You are in the hospital with severe injuries. From there, you take a call saying, I want to go back to a unit. A lot of things must have gone in your mind. And right from that time onwards, and then the life would have gone either way with such grievous injuries. I think you chose a different path and went on to even become the commanding officer of the 21 paras, special forces. How was that mindset that you had to maintain, and the journey up to commanding officer of the 21 special forces?
Like, in special forces, there is a thing, we call it as lage raho, like perseverance. You don't stop. And whether you're injured, whether you are tired, whether you are kind of not having slept for many days. So I think that the life of a special forces guys, when we are trained and the way we are groomed and the probation itself, makes you that much adaptable. And then when things are not going right, which many times it will happen more often than not, that things will not go the way they are planned. Whether it
True.
was, you can call it as the first operation in Sri Lanka when we were dropped at the university grounds, wherein we came under very effective LTT fire and we lost quite a few guys, and then we had to be kind of brought back safely. The CO went in a tank and things like that. So it's quite a operation, if you have gone through that history. So when I got injured, and obviously I can't say that I was very smart enough to have avoided. I could have avoided it by not taking the initiative and chasing that militant. And once I am injured, now I have to now think of my life ahead, whether I should remain a category, and there
Yeah,
are
because the
benefits.
army immediately would put you into a category,
Yeah,
saying
they put you
don't
in a
go. Yeah,
category, and I could have stayed as a category for a very long time, and I
correct.
could have probably looked for a very cushy posting also. Or you want to be part of the same unit, the same organization which is already fighting a battle over there, insurgency over there. So I chose the latter because I want to be part of that. I don't want to miss out on any of the operations, and the kind of experience and the operational, I would say, richness which is there of the operations, you don't get it. 1971 was the operation we had.
Correct.
After that, it was Sri Lanka. Thereafter, now of course the insurgency has been and people have been getting a lot of exposure, but people look, they thrive, they want to be in operation, because that is a time when you learn a lot. And that is what my message to younger generation would also be, that whenever you are in a situation wherein you find that there are two paths, a harder path and a softer or a easier path, always choose a harder path, especially I would say younger generation, because that is where the learning is. I always keep telling, there is a risk of failure also.
True.
There is always chance of losses. You could be losing in terms of money, or you could be losing in terms of your limbs, or you could be losing in other, whether it is your reputation or otherwise. But the amount of risk which you are taking and the learning which you are getting will make you a better leader and a better commander.
True.
So that later on in later life, when you are commanding more people or you have senior position, at that particular time you would be able to tell with authority
Absolutely.
that I can do it. If I can do it, so can you do it. So that kind of confidence comes in. So my suggestion to everyone, or rather for myself, was that I need to get that exposure as much more as I can. Even if I am injured, so what? I can still do other duties. There are so many other duties which you can do while sitting as an adjutant.
Correct.
So I was there doing as an adjutant, and thereafter, of course, when I commanded the Unit 21 Para Special Forces, we had a fair degree of challenges there also. It's not that special forces units, they do make mistakes. There are challenges. We lost quite a few guys initial stages, in the sense that one was just a tragic accident, wherein one of our the vehicles, it just went down 200 meters, and we
Okay.
lost very I would say 7-8 young leaders in
Okay.
that. And to come out from that is very challenging at that particular time. So you have to lead by example. And later on, of course, when 21 para SF we got deployed in northeast, and we realized our weaknesses which are there in some of the things in which we were not good enough. So we had to improve that, and over a period of time we improved. And with constant improvement and continuously focusing on those things, because you see, every operation you go in over there will be certain good aspects and certain not so good aspects. So we used to identify the weaknesses in that. Even if a successful operation has taken place, we used to identify what is that one weakness in this operation which we could have improved upon.
Right.
So we were focusing on that. So that is how we, over a period of time, became quite good in what we were doing. And then I think there was a time when I could sit back and relax and say that whenever they will go for an operation, even if there is a surprise has been lost.
Did you ever sit back and relax?
Means sit back and relax mentally. I would say physically I never, means mentally in the sense that I was confident that when my boys are going over there and they are in a situation which they will always be in a situation where there will be firing going on and the militants will be there. So at least they would not come back without, I would say, causing damage to the enemy and minimizing their own casualties. That casualties will be there.
Right.
But what my confidence was that now I have trained them so hard because they are now scared that if I make a mistake or if I do something wrong, then instead of the militants, CO will be very unhappy. It's
Right.
not that CO will say anything, but he'll be very unhappy. So that point, the people used to train so hard in every aspect, whether it is firing, whether it is physical fitness, whether it is maintaining the surprise or deception or whatever they are doing. They're all operations, they were not exactly like by the book, but they were so practically done, means something which you would have never imagined that how would they reach there without getting detected, because they'll do 7-8 days they are in the jungles and they are maintaining surprise and they are not eating much. They are
Right.
eating those chakar paras and khasta puris and they are able to survive, because we learnt a lot in Sri Lanka
Right.
how to remain hidden without getting detected by your opponent. So those things which we learned, like what kind of food which you have to eat, how you need to maintain your fire discipline, because our firing was absolutely on spot in the sense that they'll never fire a single bullet until they are able to get a hit.
Okay.
Means they'll not just
So
fire.
what do you hear
blindly.
see those slogans? Ek bullet, ek nishan type of thing. So you have to.
In fact, ek bullet, ek nishan, but you have to drop him dead. Means not only just hit him, but you have to drop, because see, AK-47 bullet doesn't really, if it is hit on your arms or legs, so militant can run away. But if in case you get a headshot, he doesn't get away. So we had told them that when you are able to see the black pupil in the eye of the militant, then only you will fire. So that kind of fire discipline and training them, that at 30 meters you have to fire 3 rounds in 3 seconds. If you are able to do it, you go on leave.
Okay.
If you can't, you cannot go on leave. And if you are going for operations, you have to fire those weapons. So you have to be confident about your own weapon. So if you can fire your weapon in 3 seconds, 3 rounds in 3 centimeters,
Right.
then only you are going for operation. And if you are not going for operations, that means you are not going for leave also. So those challenges we put in, and we ourselves went through those challenges. Not that I was doing it just for the sake of it. I ensured that I myself can do it. And that is how everybody kind of improved. It's a principle, I can talk about it. I think, everything, whether it is a person, what he's eating, how he's maintaining his physical or his personal hygiene, he should not fall ill. And the shoes he's wearing, in fact, we used to get shoes bought from Dehradun, because some of the shoes were not good enough for our operations, because they used to make more noise and they were very heavy. So we used to buy those normal, like Adidas shoes, similar kind of shoes we used to buy with the ankles and all that. Then the equipment, like your rucksack, that also plays a lot of important role, because when you're running or when you're walking, it should not be pulling you back. So the proper rucksack, we used to get them. And then we used to give these things to anyone who's doing a good operation, because see, rewards and awards will come very few. But when a guy within an operation, every operation, there is someone who has done a good job, and there may be someone who should have or could have done a better job. So those weaknesses we used to identify, and the good aspects also of each operation we used to identify, and we used to reward them. And the person who has not done his, he has to now improve his training. So that is how it was. So over a period of time, they improved.
So the training that you have to undergo to be a special forces officer or a Jawan also, sailor, on a rating, if I say challenging, tough, brutal, where would you put it?
See, I wouldn't say brutal. It is that you are developing a skill.
Right.
See, you have to be a little bit ruthless.
Okay,
ruthless. In terms of like, you don't have to let the emotions come in, because people will say, I have to do this, I have to do that. But you have to be very ruthless in terms of, look, if you can do this, then only I can let you go. See, every operation they went, I used to first have a chat with them, officers, men, everyone together. And I used to look into their eyes. I used to see what exactly are they feeling about it, because everything is on a platter, in the sense that this is the operation, we have to go there, this is the kind of information which we have, these are the risks which we are going to be exposed. you're going to be here, I'm going to be here. Whatever happens to you, I am still there, right? I will be somewhere around nearby, wherever there is the most difficult, I would say, chances of fire coming in, I would always be there.
Correct.
In that, whichever that squad or which is a troop is, I will be along with them, somewhere close by. So they knew the CO is there with us. And they had a lot of faith over a period of time. As I said, when you have the operational competence, which comes with experience, so people start trusting you.
True.
So there was a situation wherein I can say that with absolute confidence is that the army commanders and the co-commanders in the GOCs, they used to kind of say, okay, wherever this guy goes, Colonel Mann, you will find that action will take place. And there will be contact and there will be firefight and they will get success.
Right.
So therefore the orders were that wherever Colonel Mann goes, ek apna dusra unit B, they used to send it along with me. Though I knew in many of those situations wherein I said, I guided them, I said, look, I am doing something other than that. I am not right now engaged or having a contact because some casualties have taken place. I have to do the evacuation part. Because I used to have the long range communication, so HF. So I used to open that and I used to pass messages so that I can get the evacuation done. So you do this. If you go there, you probably will get success. But still their orders are very clear that be with Colonel Mann. That's where the action is happening. But that happens.
So any specific, what do you say, operation you can tell our viewers?
Yeah, there were many actually. I can talk of one of the operations, which was, we called it as Operation Rainbow. And in fact, before that, I would also like to tell that whatever we learnt in Sri Lanka, see, it's not that 21 Para SF didn't know anything or 21 Para SF did not have that much of experience. They had good officers, very brilliant officers, but they were not in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
They had not operated in that small
They were
team
not exposed
concept.
to operations.
They were not as exposed as 10 Para. So that experience of mine really helped in, getting them onto the right track. And so what used to happen was that in 10 Para also I always said that a good sportsman, he has a better intuition in operation. Though you cannot replicate the operational experience, but a good sportsman, if he's thrown in an operational environment, he will fare better than the others. So that is how I found that there was one guy whose name is Ajit, very good hockey player, brilliant hockey player. And you will find him that always at the right spot to score a goal, just like Ronaldo. So I said that what is it that, he has that skill in him? And it is only by virtue of playing the game more often. So that is how I also kind of learned my ropes, by being in operations for longest time. So while I was in Sri Lanka or later on with 21 Para, I was maximum in operations. So I wanted to be in operation even as a CO. If there is a smallest team or a unit which is going in for operations, I would say, okay, I'll be there around you, planning, execution, management, etc. Unless, of course, there is some more critical job which is to be done at that particular time. Otherwise, I'll be in the operation. That is what my thoughts were. So in this Operation Rainbow, what happened was that obviously it was a div level operation and we were called in as special forces. So my after the briefing was over, I asked the GOC the same question, sir, what is our aim? Because I always used to want to know exactly what we need to do as special forces. So there are two ways of looking at it, because when you are doing a div level operations, there is a lot of area which is semi-covered. And div level operations takes much longer. It doesn't happen in 2 days, 3 days. It was a 5 days, 6 days operation. So the main aim was to neutralize maximum number of militants. And that area was pretty well defined in the sense that it was a liberated zone. That militants were moving in large number of,
And this, which sector?
This is in northeast. In Manipur.
Manipur.
Yeah. So, which is right now, I think, Chura Chandpur, where some, this thing is there. So, then he says, we need to neutralize the maximum number of militants. So, I only requested that, sir, give me 48 hours before the div launches their operation, so that at least we are your eyes and ears. So that we will be able to provide you some intelligence and information. He says, okay, fine. So, we went 48 hours in advance. And so, what information we were able to gather with that, we could find two people like EW elements, early warning elements of the militants, whom we were able to neutralize. This has happened 48 hours before. And now where we are in that area, there is nothing there. That's what our information and input says. But since this is a div level operation, so we need to follow the orders. So we were there. So now while I was just behind I would say, couple of bounds behind my team. So I get a kind of a message from one of the local, from a Assam rifle officer.
Mhm.
And he says, sir, you come to my place, there is information.
Okay.
Now, this is also something, nobody can, like, he's not from my unit.
Right.
He's from Assam Rifles. And he feels that he should give this information to me as special forces. And he sends his message. So I also honor his
Right.
information, and I said, I'll come in the morning, and I went there. Next day morning at 6 o'clock, I started, and I reached his post 3-4 hours. So by the time I reached, it was around 10 o'clock or so. So I asked him, what is the information? So he says, looking at the map, sir, this is the information that this village has got some militants.
Okay.
And this is what some locals have come and told him.
Mhm.
I said, what are you doing about it?
Ah.
He says, sir, I don't have that much of capability. I said, no, not that capability, but you can at least see, na? While you are sitting here, you can see that village if you climb this hill.
Right.
So I just told him, let's climb this hill.
Ah.
So we climbed that hill. And obviously now we are able to see the village. So when you are able to see the village, so I said, look, from the look, you get a gut feeling when you're looking at a village that whether there are militants or not. From that, I could make out there are normal activities happening and there can't be any militants.
Okay.
But then I moved the camera. We used to have those spotoscopes.
Right. Yeah.
So which has a good range of 4 to 5 kilometers. So I moved the spotoscope to another small little, I would say, group of huts adjacent to that village, around about 4-5 kilometers away. And that is the place where I see that there is no activity. It's absolutely like a, which is very unusual in the sense that
Nothing is happening.
nothing is happening. There are no cows or there are no
Chicken.
or anything which is there. Not a single human being. Otherwise, people are working around in those areas. So I said, this is the area where I think we should focus. We could find something. So I tell my guy who's there in the surveillance to start monitoring it. And within about 15-20 minutes, we start counting the militants in uniform moving around. So I told him, like, look, who are these guys? Because they look like any army personnel. So he says, sir, these are the militants. So I said, okay, that is the place where we need to concentrate now. Now this has happened, I think 5-6 days have already gone past in the previous operation. So now I have to convince to get my team back.
Okay.
Because now this is a div level operation. So I tell my Colonel GS, I said, sir, as we had discussed in the op briefing that we need to neutralize maximum number of militants. So now I see these militants over here. I don't tell them that I have recorded also. I have recorded it in my camera, recorded that information. And I tell him that I can see these militants. So he says, no, it's very difficult for us to, now change the entire plan because this is only, moving parts in that and all that. So I said, so if everybody cannot be kind of moved in over here, so at least you send my boys. Those team can be sent back. So he said, okay, I'll get back to you. It took me about 48 hours of convincing them. And by the time they convinced, so they said, okay, you can take them, bring them back. So then they had to come back also. So 2 days it took them to come back also. So by the time it came, it was about 10th day. And now boys are tired. There's a shortage of like food also.
Correct.
But then I had already thought of it. I had told my SM that you will send the food on a, you have a lot of those ponies.
Right.
So you put the food on that, tell a civilian, he will deliver. Similarly, radio set, batteries and things like that. These are the things which are actually required. Clothes remain the same. Clothes, in fact, after one operation, they are in tatters as it is. So the food came, the batteries came. Now the boys were tired, but still. Now next day morning when we are about to go to that village, the day breaks very early at 4 o'clock or so. So now there's no movement, no activity either that village or in those huts. But we have take a decision, right? We have taken a decision of pulling them back and now we have to send them. So the boys are saying, sir, it's waste of time. I said, yes, it could be a waste of time, but at least we have to honor that. Since we have taken a decision, we have brought you back and all that. So ultimately they go down the Nala. It is quite steep. Hills are very, very steep over there.
Correct, yeah.
So you go down and then you have to climb up. So they start in the morning at about 5:30, 6 o'clock and they reach there in about 3-4 hours. And I am listening to their conversation all this while, because obviously I want to know what is happening. So from the conversation, I can make out what is there. So soon enough, around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I start hearing that they are talking in whispers.
Who?
Our boys.
Okay.
And
so you're on the radio and
I am listening to them. And they are saying, okay, sir, people are talking in Manipuri.
Okay.
In that village. That village is like a Kuki village. But people are talking in Manipuri because they can also hear, right?
Right.
In the special forces, that's a very good skill. Like in the sense that a lot of people who can learn, they have the language expertise.
Right.
So we had both sides. We had Manipuris, we had Kukis, we had Nagas, we had every tribe
Okay.
guy. So we could make out which tribe and who is speaking what and all that. And we could also listen to their conversations on radio sets also.
Okay.
So that is how we were able to kind of pinpoint. So anyway, they were talking in Manipuri, but they were able to hear it from the village.
Okay.
So that put us in a bit of a cautionary mode. If there are Manipuris, the village is Kuki, so that means these guys are outsiders.
Okay.
So they are not from the same village.
Okay.
So militants were generally, speaking the same language of Manipur. So that is how they, started encircling them and trying to, get onto a dominating position. And when the surprise got lost and there was huge amount of firefight and things like that, and one of our guys got shot in that, and he got an ankle hit. And then obviously when I got involved in that evacuation and all that, and when this all happening, the Hepters came, they took away the casualty, and GOC also was informed that there has been a casualty of special forces, and the boys are there with me from some other unit who are with me, and I'm telling them, why don't you go there and lay an ambush? They say, no, our orders are to be with you. I said, okay, fine. So they were with me, and the Hepter pilot has seen bodies.
Okay.
Of
the militants.
We don't know yet. The Hepter pilot has gone and said that there are about 8 to 9 casualties, which we don't know whose are there. And one of the boys who's injured, I have brought them back. Now the GOC is worried. He's thinking that they're my casualties because there's so much of fire which has taken place. And my boys, officers and men are a little bit trying to, whatever they're scoring a point or whatever. They say, CO asking me to come fast. I said, I'm coming. By the time I reach, the village boundary wall is there, so to keep the animals away, they are waiting for me over there, and they just hugged me and they are crying. I said, my officers.
Okay.
And I kind of think that there has been a very big casualty of ours, because of which probably they are crying. And that is what even the GOC is trying to speak to me about. Because GOC says, why is CO is not able to communicate? What's the reason? I said, I'm going to the site. I'll give you a feedback after I reach there. So they pull me and they bring me over there, and then they say, sir, this is, what happened? How did it happen? He said, they're all militants. So there were about 8 to 10 bodies over there, and they were all militants, and 2 we had earlier killed. And then later on we searched, 2 days more we searched over there. About 13 odd militants we had neutralized that day. But what I say in this is that in this operation, that day when they were going in the morning, there were 2 villages. So they were saying, sir, none of the villages are having militants. Where should we go? So I saw a rainbow.
Okay.
I said, is pe chale. Go there. So we called that operation as Operation Rainbow.
Okay.
So that's how. Sometimes, they say, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि सभी को सभी चीज़ नहीं मिलती, किस्मत से ज़्यादा और समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं मिलता. तो वैसे ही है. So we were lucky. In fact, the army commander asked me, how did you get that success? I said, the universe conspired to give us success. That they gave us a rainbow. Otherwise, why would I have sent them to that village? So sometimes like the luck happens, or you have to go by your gut feel and all that. So that is what I can say.